Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting us, Pastor. Again, I'm from a ministry called All Worthy of Love. How many people have grown up in Detroit? Anybody? I'm a West Sider. I grew up near Rouge Park and Telegraph or West Chicago and Southfield, if anybody knows where that area is. Went to Wayne State University. Thought I was going to be all over the globe, but I've lived here all my life. I'm very proud to be a Detroiter. About 2 years ago, I was in a meeting like this, and my wife and I were contemplating retirement. I had a long career in the steel industry. I worked for Ford Motor Company, and in the Rouge complex that Henry Ford built in Dearborn, Michigan, half of the plant in the Rouge is a steel plant. A lot of people don't realize that. And we made flat roll sheet steel for the automotive company. But I was the vice president of human resources. And there were a lot of spit and sputters to that career, and as I was ending it, one of the things that I said, that I learned about the Bible all these many years, my wife and I have been in church all our lives, and we had a born-again experience about 30 years ago. And as I was approaching retirement, one of the things that I believe very strongly is God has a plan and a purpose for your life. Amen. And I didn't want to mess it up. I was at a point where I was ending my career and getting ready for retirement, and I wanted to do what God wanted me to do at this point. And I felt like He had equipped me to do a lot of things. I had a lot of experience. And I went to a meeting at Bethesda where our missionaries came in. Our missionaries that we were supporting at Bethesda came in to tell us about their ministry and what they were doing. And my wife and I went to it really with the anticipation of taking a missions trip. How many people have taken a missions trip? They're a lot of fun, aren't they? That's what I've always heard. I was always too busy. I was a workaholic. And I never took the time to do that. And I love traveling. I love staying at 4- or 5-star hotels, and I thought that my wife and I could stay at a 2-star hotel and we could do a missions trip. Well, he had a different plan. This young 27-year-old young woman named Lindsay Fisher, the founder of AWOL, came into our dining room that night and began speaking about All Worthy of Love. And I thought I was a pretty well-read guy. Sometimes I'll read as many as 5 newspapers a day, and I'm a newsaholic. I watch CNN and Bloomberg News, and I think I know a little bit about a lot of things. But I began hearing about this issue of human trafficking, and my first impression was, well, human trafficking's got to be a problem somewhere else. It's got to be a problem in Thailand or South America or in Asia somewhere or Europe, Eastern Europe. It's got to be a problem somewhere else. And what Lindsay said that day is that this is a problem that exists in our own backyard. And really what it is, what human trafficking is, it is the control that someone uses against someone else for some purpose. And what we're particularly interested in our ministry is sexual exploitation. That's what we're doing. That's what we're involved in. What Lindsay said that night and what overwhelmed me was, number one, the passion that she had. But what she said and what I didn't know was human trafficking is the 3rd largest criminal enterprise in the world. There's an estimated, now this 30 million number, I just saw something the other day that said that 30 million is something closer to 32 million, but there's 32 million slaves in the world. Now, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, right? I read my history book. He freed the slaves in the United States, and all that's behind us. It can't possibly exist in the United States. Well, it does. There's 600, and this is probably a low number. There's at least 600,000 slaves in the United States. And 80% of those slaves are women. And 50% are children. 300,000 people in the U.S. are at risk for sexual exploitation. We see 20,000 people coming from other countries a year into the U.S. for the purpose of being trafficked. The average cost of a slave in the world is $90. 2 children are sold into sex trafficking every minute, and 68% of the women who are trafficked meet the definition of PTSD. We hear so much about PTSD. We see it on the streets of Detroit every day. Who are being trafficked? What we see a lot of is the children aging out of the foster care system. Children get taken away from their parents or get put in foster care for various reasons. They get taken care of in the system, maybe with multiple foster care parents over the period of their lives, but they reach the age of majority, 18 years old, and all of a sudden, there's no pay for those parents to take care of those children any longer. They age out of the system. Where do they go? That last foster parent doesn't have the means, the wherewithal, nor the inclination to take care of those children after they're 18. So where do they go? Well, the sex trafficker is waiting for them. Sometimes they sit outside the foster care offices, the social services offices waiting to see the children when they come out. Drug addiction is absolutely high on the list of points where people become vulnerable. They get prescribed prescription medications by doctors. They take those prescription medications. They become addicted. They buy the prescription medication off the street. Then they can't afford that any longer. They begin to buy heroin, crack, or cocaine, and they end up being addicted. And they become controlled by the pimp, prostitute, the madam, the drug dealer, or the gang. That's what we see. Also, parental figures, if you can believe this, parents sell their children into sex slavery. People that are victims of rape and incest become vulnerable to it because they've lost their sense of pain to the issue of rape. And they begin to sell themselves because they believe that what's happened to them is so bad they can't really recover from it. And an unstable home life. There was a Dr. Phil show on last week about a girl that went out on social media and talked about the relationship that she was having with her parent, and she became victimized by a human trafficker because of what she had put on social media. Go ahead. What are we? What is All Worthy of Love? Why am I telling you about human trafficking, and what are we? Well, we are a ministry that wants to raise awareness. We want to come and talk to you. We want to tell you about this problem. We want to raise the level of awareness about this so that people know about it and become sensitive to it. And they understand what is going on in the world, and they understand what is going on in this country, but they also understand what's going on in southeastern Michigan and the city of Detroit. We want to be that Isaiah 58 ministry, which basically says, and I read on your website that one of the things that you believe, and I'm paraphrasing here, you believe that the people are the culmination of God's creation. The pinnacle, I believe, was the word that was used. The people are the pinnacle of God's creation. And we believe that. And we believe that all people are worthy of love.
And like super sweet socks. Sex trafficking isn't just a third world problem. It's a Detroit, Michigan problem.
The average cost of a slave is $90, and that's not just for one night, that's for their whole life.
1, 2, 3.
Hey there. How are you?
Right.
Did you have a good week?
No, I got raped and robbed, beat up. Look at my lips.
It's crazy though when you see people like the blonde-haired girl that we saw.
Yeah.
The second girl that we prayed with. Like you watch how the streets like slowly beat someone up. Like you don't think that it like a lot of what society builds about prostitution is that it's glamorous, and you wouldn't think when you go and see a girl, you think that she's supposed to be like this pretty woman girl and these high heels and makeup's all nice and stuff, and these girls just look like they've had like the crap beat out of them, and it's because they have. Why did I start AWOL? Because there's more slaves today than there's ever been before in history, and I really believe that the church is God's answer to injustice. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Thank God for these gracious, loving people that take out their time of the day to provide and to do your wills and your work. And thank you for these people, for whatever. God bless y'all.
God bless you.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you.
Bye.
We love you. See you,
Bye.
sister.
This is hard for everybody, but you know, especially as women, if we can all, help each other.
Remember her.
I'm blessed to have you women make me stronger, and if it wasn't, you guys are part of the reason why I made the decisions I made, and I'm testimony, and
You are a testimony.
I'm a testimony that, see, there's hope and still, and I didn't turn out bitter, I didn't do nothing, I just, I love more, and I don't cry all the time anymore. I know I'm a mom, and I know I'm a sister to somebody, you know what I mean? I'm a woman who needs, women, and I love you guys so much.
We're gonna pray with you.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you guys.
We can't wait to see what God does.
Thank you so much, guys. You guys help me.
The average lifespan of a person working in street prostitution is 4 to 6 years.
The mortality rate of an individual working in street prostitution is 40 times higher than the national average.
It's estimated that those involved in street prostitution have an estimated clientele of 1 to 15 per day. The most common lure for prostitution is drug addiction.
God, I thank you that this is a goodbye to the streets, Lord, that you are doing a new thing, God. That there is just, there's a fire, God, there's a determination, Lord, that you've birthed this amazing thing in my sister, Lord, that she is going to get off the street, she's going to be clean, God. I thank you, Lord, for this work that you're doing, God, for all the amazingness that you've worked in her life, God. I thank you, Lord, that these streets are not your best, God, that you have a plan, you have a purpose, you have a direction for my sister, Lord.
Yes,
I thank you, God.
The girl that when I spoke of during the video, I asked you to remember her. We lost her right after this video was made, and they found her body about 5 miles from where I'm standing right here. Something to think about that. Our mission is to go out onto the streets of Detroit and touch the lives of women that we believe are engaged in street prostitution, and touch them and get them rescued, get them rehabilitated, and get them back into a life for Christ. We do a lot of things. We certainly work with legislators. We work on relationships. We speak in schools. Go ahead, next slide. But this is about reaching out by working on a relationship. We go out every night into the streets of Detroit, and we take an SUV. And in that SUV, there's 4 people, and we take bait with us. And the bait is food and it's hygiene kits. And sometimes we have things like clothing and some other stuff that people are so kind to donate to our organization that we distribute. But basically, we take food and hygiene kits. We pull up to someone, a woman, or a man for that matter, that we believe are engaged in street prostitution. And we reach out to them and we ask them if they want a hygiene kit and lunch. Sometimes we get the no thanks, not a message to follow. But we begin a relationship by being out there every week at the same time and talking to these people that are out there and getting into their mind that they can trust us and begin talking to us. And we get them to take our lunch, and we get them to take our hygiene kit, and we begin introducing prayer into their lives and touching them through the blood of Jesus Christ. We believe that the church is the answer to this problem. People are being controlled and trafficked by a number of different people. Traditionally, people think about pimps controlling. women are involved in prostitution. There's also gangs. There's also madams. There's also drug lords. What we see is some form of force, fraud, or coercion being leveled against these men and women, which causes them, and it's mostly drugs. What we see most of the time is drugs are the slickest controlling agent that exists, because once someone gets addicted to heroin, and mostly we see once they get addicted to that drug, then they're on automatic pilot for the control. Our vision for this ministry, and you can go ahead and read the points yourself, but our vision for this ministry is to go out to multiple areas of the city of Detroit, Pontiac, Flint, and we see the Lord moving us in that direction very quickly, to be honest. We're expanding our ministry from the area which is very, very close to where we're here today. And we're expanding to the Brightmore area of Detroit, June 1st. We've expanded our ministry also to Austin, Texas. But we've gotten overtures from both Flint and Pontiac to start similar ministries. It's our intention to do that. We believe that is where the Lord is leading us. Go ahead. I want to tell you two stories. I've left enough time to do that. And I want to tell you two stories. First of all, I want to tell you this story. And this is not about a woman that we dealt with in All Worthy of Love, but I want to tell you this story mainly because it has a lot of meaning to me, and it parallels my life in a lot of ways. Teresa Flores was a young girl, 14, 15 years old, lived in Birmingham, 13 miles near Southfield Road. She went to Birmingham Rhodes High School. Her father had been directed to come here by his company. They lived on the front of a golf course. She worked at a Burger King at the corner of 13th and Southfield, which I've been to many times. And she was a great student. She was on the track team, and she got a crush on a boy in her school who was pretty slick. Drove a Trans Am, had very nice clothes, was very well kept, and the young man offered her a ride home one day, and she took it. She went to her track coach and she said, "I'm not feeling well. Do you mind if I leave early?" And the coach said, "Yes." She got in the car. Now, how many of us have made mistakes in high school a lot worse than that? She got in the car. He started driving her home. He says, "Hey, do you mind if I stop at my house just for a minute? I got to fix something up." So he pulls in his driveway, which is very close to the house that she lives in, and up in a very, very nice area of Birmingham as well. And he says, "Hey, do you mind coming in with me?" So she agrees. She gets out of the car. She goes in the house. One of his cousins is waiting in the house for him. He's hidden in another part of the house. She agrees to walk up to see his bedroom. He has a coat and a little refrigerator, those little refrigerators like the kids have in dormitories in college. He offers her a Coke. She drinks it. She didn't know it, but it was had a date rape drug in it. She passes out. Some very, very explicit photographs were taken of this 14, 15-year-old girl. And these boys were working for a gang. I'll just leave it at that. It was a gang that operated in the area. And what they did is they blackmailed Teresa Flores. And for the next 2 years, and I don't understand this as a parent, because I had a burglar alarm in my house, but she was able to get out of that house 3 and 4 nights a week because the parents were so busy, the dad traveled, and 3 or 4 nights a week she was being raped. She was being trapped. 2, 4, 5, 7 times a night. 3 or 4 nights a week for 2 years. She ended up there's a picture of her. She ended up in a hotel one time in Detroit, in a motel. Picked up by the police, taken home. Her parents still didn't put 2 and 2 together. And she was so hurt and so scared because of the sin that she was involved in. She was afraid to tell the whole story. She felt like her sin was so bad She couldn't do that. Well, fortunately, her father got transferred again, and they got away from this gang. But this gang is still operating today. It operates, you guys let me know. What they did is still going on. They've not been put away. She believes that her next stop, and there's a hierarchy to human trafficking. What we generally see is very young, very attractive women are used for pornography. I want you guys out there to think about it. If you ever click on that mouse, on that computer, and grab a pornographic site, you are contributing to this heinous crime which is being perpetrated against us. But that's an aside. She was going to be elevated, if you will, into sort of that part of the hierarchy. And her next stop, she believed, was to work in, they were going to take her completely out of her house and put her into two of the clubs, I'll call them strip clubs, in Windsor, which is right across the water, and hold her full time. And she was able to get away. And Teresa Flores has been instrumental in she's written a couple books. If you ever get a chance, read them. One's called The Slave Next Door, I believe. Slave Next Door. And she has been instrumental in getting some new legislation put on the books with Governor Snyder to deal with human trafficking in the state of Michigan. The second story I want to tell you about, I'll close with, is a young woman, I'll call her T. This is very close to me. She looks like my oldest daughter. Very, very beautiful, sandy-haired, light blonde-haired colored girl. And she got addicted to Vicodin. She got Vicodin from a doctor. She got it prescribed by a doctor. She got hooked on it. She began buying it on the street, on the black market, after the doctor quit writing the prescriptions. Although doctors, in general, I think, are writing too many prescriptions for opiate medications these days, but that's another issue. She started buying Vicodin on the black market. She got addicted. And she turned to heroin when she could no longer afford to buy the Vicodin. Heroin is relatively cheap in the grand scheme of things. She got addicted to heroin. Her parents took her to rehab several times. She went to Troy Athens High School. I lived at Long Lake. For many years, my wife and I lived at Long Lake Road in John. And we lived in the Athens school. My kids went to the Pleasant Christian School, but we lived in the Athens school district. Her parents could no longer cope with the situation that they had because of her addiction, and she left home. And she left to go down into the area in which we ministered. And she got controlled. She became controlled by a gang. And the gang, also one of their industries was drugs. She was very beautiful, and they got her addicted very quickly. And the drug lord, the gang leader, got incarcerated. He got thrown in jail. So what happens is his gang sells her to another gang across the street. Literally across the street from one gang house to another. We lost her for a period of time. And this is the period of time we're talking about where we believe that she got elevated in this hierarchy, where it was probably more profitable for her to be not on the streets working as a prostitute, but rather maybe a call girl or working in a strip club or some other higher paying form. These controllers look at people as commodities and what they can earn, how they can earn it, how often they can be used. And I'll close with that. I will close with that, and I will tell you, if you would like to help us, and you'd like to be a part of this ministry, we certainly include you and get you involved. But the biggest thing we need is prayer. We go out on the streets of Detroit. We go into dangerous areas. We do we've put ourselves in harm's way. And we know the Holy Spirit is with us. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing if we didn't think the Holy Spirit was with us. Because it is dangerous. We covet your prayers. And certainly, if you want to get involved and help us build hygiene kits and make salami sandwiches and do that sort of thing, we're very open to that. But this is a huge problem. Your daughters and your sisters and your cousins and your next door neighbors are being trafficked. You don't realize it. I didn't realize it. But now that we are where we are, we see women from such a diverse cross section of our culture here in southeastern Michigan. It's not a Detroit problem. This is a Madison Heights problem, and a Troy problem, a Royal Oak problem, and a Birmingham problem. It's going to take the church to solve it. Thank you very much.